capital of Amer, a city of ancient temples and ruined palaces, a city of the dead. The crests of the hills on either side are glorified with castles built of pink sandstone, the relics of the old Rajput story. If you're traveling to Rajasthan, the Amer Fort is a sight you should not miss. The fort palace, nestled in the Aravalli hills above the Mauta lake, with green hills and yellow and pink sandstone, has captivated travelers for centuries.
Other than the fort, there are lakes, gardens, and many old temples in Amer town that nestles at the foothills of the fort. Today, we will take a walk through Amer Fort and talk about the unique structures within. Kachawas of Amer played an important role in India's history. They were close allies to the Mughals and played a major role in the administration and expansion of the Mughal Empire in India. This fort was built in the 11th century. The Kachawa rulers lived in the fort till the end of the 18th century. During this time, from 11th to 18th century, they constantly modified and updated the fort to make it safer and more aesthetically pleasing. Each successor brought his own influences. By the end of the 18th century, when the capital was shifted to the present city of Jaipur, there were a large number of Rajput and Mughal characteristics in the Amer Fort. We will talk about both influences in Amer Fort complex later in the tour. Amer is a half-hour drive from Jaipur. Sometimes it takes time to find a transport going back to Jaipur. Just make sure you don't leave too late. Now that you're on your way to Amer, you will notice the city landscape giving way to hills. The route that you're on is often taken by travelers who visit Amer from Jaipur. Entrances to the fort: the Suraj Pole or the Sun Gate and Chand Pole or the Moon Gate. Both open to the same courtyard, so don't worry if you are at a different gate. As you approach Suraj Pole, you will find tourist guides who are extremely excited to begin their day. You don't need them today. You have us to guide you. Let's begin walking. Of the complex that you have just entered stand the Suraj Pole and Chand Pole. Look at the two gates. If the gate you entered from is larger and more intricately done, it is the Suraj Pole gate. If you entered from the smaller gate with elephant docks next to you, it was the Chand Pole gate. The open-air courtyard that you are now in is the Jaleb Chowk. This is also the point at which to buy tickets. The ticket counter is near a gallery of pillars along the Chand Pole gate. Make your way there. The temple is often crowded by visitors, so you can decide if you want to go into the temple. Inside, there are etchings and carvings. Standing in now, with the pillared hall on your left, is part of the Diwan-e-Am complex. This is the second of the 4 sections of Amer Fort. This is a more exclusive part of the fort. Take a moment to look down the railing and onto Jaleb Chowk that you were standing in just a while ago. Standing here, you can better absorb the fort and its links with the town beneath and the area around it and the construction of the fort. When we were in the Jaleb Chowk, we had talked about a victorious army entering the Jaleb
The word
Chowk.
kacheri is a medieval Indian term for an office. The rooms that you see around the courtyard were offices where the different court officials like the Diwan, Sadat ul Sadr, Wazir, and everyone else who ran the administrative machinery sat and worked. Walk to the arched balcony and look out. From the balcony here, you can see the beautiful Mohanbari gardens. These gardens are also known as Kesar Kyari because it is believed that saffron was grown in its finely laid out symmetrical rows of stone. As you keep walking on your left, you will see a signboard for hammams. Go inside. It is a fine example of a blend of Mughal and Rajput cultures. It is not a coincidence that the hammam, a distinctly Persian concept, is present here in the exclusive section of Amer Palace.
Facades inside the Amer Fort is the wall with Ganesh Por or the Ganesh Gate. The beauty of the gate lies in its delicate designs embellished with mosaics and sculptures.
It is known as the Jai Mandir or the Diwan-e-Khas. Diwan-e-Khas translates from Persian to mean the hall of private audience. It consists of 4 individual structures: Sheesh Mahal, Jas Mandir, Sukh Mandir, and Char.
Terrace, you can enter Man Singh's palace through a small entrance and a winding passage that opens into the quadrangle of the old palace. You can also take the straight path into the Man Singh palace on the ground floor itself. This is the oldest part of the fort and took 25 years to build during the reign of Raja Man Singh I. The corner towers are decorated with tile work and painting, much of which decayed over time but has been
We
conserved.
are now in the Zanana, our last stop in the walk through Amer Palace. The Zanana is an Arabic term that stands for secluded quarters, especially for women. In a residential complex, the Zanana is where wives, concubines, and other royal women resided.
We arrive at the most intimate and heavily protected part of the fort's hierarchical structure. The royal family and their servers lived here for almost 6 centuries before leaving this palace and moving to the present city of Jaipur. These passages that once housed the most opulent of Rajput possessions were stripped and deserted. Old records and unwanted artifacts continued to be housed in the old chambers within the palaces. Even the town below was partly, but note, only partly deserted. However, various successive rulers continued the practice of staying at Amer for 9 days twice a year during the religiously important Navratra period and Dashera, a practice that continued well into the time of Maharaja Savai Madho Singh II. It was also true for certain marriage-related ceremonies. And even today, most members of the royal family visit the Shila Mata temple to get her blessings before they travel outside of India. So why then did the ruler Maharaja Savai Jai Singh II abandon Amer Palace to set up a new city in Jaipur? Some historians have their own theories about this. Some believe that it was a practical need. Amer was prospering and the city was expanding, and the city built here had limited space for expansion. Thus, there was a practical need to build a bigger and better city. Others believe that Amer Fort was cut off from a side and could have been a security risk in case the fort was attacked. But this is probably not true because by this point in time, Maharaja Savai Jai Singh was able to build a city that was at ground level rather than a fort city. As the kingdom grew, some people suggest that water scarcity may also have posed problems in the fort. This too does not seem to have been very accurate because we know that Savai Jai Singh as a 13-year-old had built a water irrigation system within Amer Fort. The common belief is that Savai Jai Singh II was ambitious and wanted to build a new and better city, and thus he built Jaipur, one of the most beautiful planned cities of late medieval India. Despite the move, Amer Fort and the palaces it contains continues to hold great importance for the royal family